What is happening in Magnus sites? This is very interesting. Very interesting. Let's see the details behind this.
President Trump keeps his promise to get wokeness out of the United States Armed Forces as he signs multiple executive orders to reshape the military.
Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy has all the details. Hey, Peter.
Good morning, and standing here, it feels like it's been more than a week and a day since President Trump was sworn in, because so far, and we've got a graphic here, he signed 38 executive orders, and he signed them in the Oval Office and at an arena and at his resort in Florida. The latest ones came last night, and what they do is reinstate troops who refused the COVID vaccine, about 8,000 people, develops an American Iron Dome missile defense system like what they have in Israel, formulate a new...
We could possibly need that in the future.
New policy on transgender troops. That is up to Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, to figure out how that's going to work. And then ban DEI initiatives in the military.
I'll be signing 4 new executive orders. First is that I'm directing our new Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, he's what we need, to immediately begin the construction of a state-of-the-art Iron Dome missile defense shield, which will be able to protect Americans. You see that with Israel. We're out of 319 rockets. They knocked down just about every one of them. So I
heard
the
about
United
that.
States is entitled to that, and everything will be made right here in the USA, 100%.
And the Trump cabinet is growing. His Treasury Secretary was easily confirmed last night. Scott Bessent got 68 votes. Sean Duffy for transportation is expected to get bipartisan support as well later on today. Nothing public on President Trump's schedule that we have seen, but he is planning to send his press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, out to the briefing room for her first appearance there. Back to you.
It'll be historic. Hey, Peter, going back to when you were talking about how Donald Trump revoked the Biden policy allowing trans people to serve in the armed forces. The number of trans people in the armed services right now, I know there was an NIH study or estimate done like 5 years ago at 8,000. Who knows how many there?
That's a lot. There's that many trans people in the armed forces? Wow.
There are today. What's going to happen to those people?
It sounds like once Pete Hegseth comes up with the new policy, they are going to be discharged. And it's not essentially what the argument is in the fact sheet that we were given about that executive order. President Trump does not think that transgender people are physically or mentally stable enough to serve in the armed forces. And they specifically cite readiness with transition surgeries. If you have a transition surgery, I
have seen people discussing the whole mental stability of being trans. I've even specific trans YouTubers I've seen discuss this. Very interesting.
Recovery time and the narcotics that you have to be on.
From what I've seen, it seems as some are more stable than others. You know what I'm saying? I actually know somebody that transitioned. Lost contact with them a while back because I knew them through someone else. And I do not know if they fully transitioned. It was a male to female. But I do know that they weren't very stable upstairs. Trust me, it's clear as day when you met them. You know what I mean? But then there's like others that you may, talk to. Someone like Blair White. You see Blair White, it's like, other than that, which Blair says is dysphoria, just normal conversation. You know what I'm saying? And when you watch Blair. So, yeah, personally, me, I'd probably take it case by case, but I understand his reasoning. So we'll see if we get more details.
As part of the process could affect your readiness for up to 12 months. they say that is what their concern is. So if there's a readiness concern, you're basically booted from the military.
Gotcha.
All right.
Thank you, Peter.
So
I see. So it's already a mental issue that they're dealing with, he's saying. So we need you to be because there's just other conditions where you won't be allowed into the military if you're dealing with certain things mentally, or even physically. So that's interesting. I have to mull that one over, but that's interesting.
I guess they're waiting for Pete to get the job, but they've certainly gotten wokeness out of the military. DEI is going to be history. They're going to enforce it. And goodbye DEI along Veterans Affairs, too. 60 DEI employees over at Veterans Affairs with salaries totaling more than $8 million. We're told they're done. There's no need. If you talk about cutting, they're cutting DEI programs everywhere, but especially in the military. And I thought Pete said something interesting on the steps yesterday, and I'm going to enforce it to make sure you're not going around me. But when it comes to the Tuskegee Airmen, they thought that
I noticed there's a lot. Wait, what?
That was a little, that was passive aggressive. We're going to cut that off because that's DEI. No, it isn't. It's a fantastic military story about the first black fighter pilot.
It was intentionally cut to try to cut the knees out of this administration.
Make it seem racially intolerant.
And to make Pete seem like a racist, make the president. The whole point of the Tuskegee Airmen is their merit and acknowledging their merit. I'm just glad that we finally got a Pentagon that is worried about metrics. And the metrics have to be, can you do the O course? Can you do the job? Are you lethal enough? Can you go after the enemy? Do you have the mental capacity to decipher the enemy versus friend? That's all I want. I don't care about getting women in. I don't care about getting diversity numbers in. I want to be feared by the world. And finally, we have people in there that's willing to do that.
Yeah, I'm not cool with that whole cutting Tuskegee Airmen out. I haven't seen the whole story on it, but I did kind of see things while, scrolling, and people be like, yo, you got to check this out. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to check this story out. If they did it just because of DEI, then, there's certain things that are based in whether you might call it diversity or whatever, that aren't woke. You get what I'm saying? A woman may have done this, okay? A minority may have done this, a group of minorities or whatever may have done this or that. That doesn't make something woke. You get what I'm saying? I think people blur the lines. One of the big differences between something just being diversity, normal diversity, and wokeness is the forcefulness of pushing things and preaching things. When people clearly, as clear as day, can see that you did something to preach and to either put a square peg into a round hole or twist something or change this, change the skin color, change the gender, change the sexuality, just because you didn't have this box to check. So that's why you did it. You know what I mean? But anyway, I don't know why they did that. I have to look at a full write-up of it, but I'm not down with that at all. I think that sometimes people throw the baby out with the bathwater. They go a little bit too far to try to get rid of something that overall may be a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? As we have seen how wokeness has destroyed the country. There's never been anything wrong with diversity, nothing wrong with inclusion or equity, okay? There's nothing wrong with all of us all having a voice and having all of us having our human rights. There's never been anything wrong with that. It was the over-preachiness of wokeness. And it's just like, why are you doing this? You're sitting here watching. I gave the example before. I said, we all know that family is good. And I said, they make, it's become a meme with Dom saying family in the Fast series. But just imagine that if every single medium of entertainment, everything from books, comic books, television series, cartoons, children's, anime, movies, everything, every episode was family. You'd be like, what the hell are you doing? Like, we know family is good. I'm not buying your stuff no more. I'm so sick and tired of you pushing family. We all know it's great to have a family. What is wrong with you? Why does every video game have to be about family now? Why does every movie have someone has to turn and say, hey, I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for my family? That's how they've made this. It's so ridiculous. The people are like, we already know if all these things are good. And we've had diversity, equity, and inclusion for a while now. Why are you acting like we've never had black people on TV? We've never had different sexualities on TV. We've never had women in power on TV or movies. Or like, what are you talking about? It's ridiculous. So, yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'm not down with the whole Tuskegee thing. I think that's gone a little too far, but like I said, I'll have to take a look at the whole story because every time I find out something, almost every time I find out something, somebody did this or somebody did that or somebody said this or that, one side saying this, and then when I find out the details, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Or once you read all the details, it's like, oh, okay, well, that's different. Stop trying to make it into something that it's not.
What about defense?
He also signed an executive order saying if you lost your military career, and 8,000 people did because they refused to have the vaccine, then you could be reinstated with back pay. So we interviewed Lieutenant Colonel Douglas Haig. He has served our country.
Yeah, it wasn't my body, my choice then, was it?
In the Army. He was 2 years away from retirement, and he said he resigned from the military when they were forcing him to do this. He didn't want to say, I'm going to claim an exemption, like a religious exemption, because he said that wasn't true.
Right.
So because they were kicking him out, he just said he resigned. So he's not sure he's eligible for the reinstatement, but this is what he said about Donald Trump and what he went through.
I think me, like many others, were ecstatic about it at the idea, the potential to rejoin the service. I spent 18 years on active duty service. It was my career, my entire adulthood, and I lost that, and now there's the potential to regain it now. So very appreciative. I'm thankful that President Trump made these promises early on and is now following through with them. So I didn't want to get the vaccine. I made it clear early on in my before the mandate, actually, to my leadership that I was not planning to get it. Once it was mandated, I didn't. I told him I wasn't going to, and I submitted my resignation. All
right, I'm gonna stop it here. I was mainly looking to see what they were doing with the whole trans issue. Watch the rest of this on my own. Let me know what you think in the comments below. 10 million subscribers. Whoa. Boy, a whole lot of things are being done. Woo! More turmoil to come.